well as a director of First Community Bank, ABDULHAMID ABOO. Thank you very much for joining us. And on the extreme end, we have JAFAR AMAN, who is the manager in charge of Sharia audit at First Community Bank. Many thanks, gentlemen. And of course, at our city center studios, we also have DUNCAN LUMWAMU, who is an investment manager with CYTONN Investments, will also be weighing in on this matter even as he marks his birthday today. Well, gentlemen, thank you for joining us this afternoon. Interesting developments in the banking sector. The president is saying everything is okay, it's just a few banks. Central Bank saying the same thing. But for the ordinary Kenyan, their fear is, where is the bank that is safe to keep your money? Is my money safe at the bank? Perhaps, Ken, what would you have to say about this?
I mean, I fully empathize with the customers who are undergoing such a terrible experience, because Chase Bank was targeting SME lenders, SME companies, and this is where the middle-class Kenyan really gets his financial intermediation. Yeah. And for such a person, this is your normal trader, your normal government contractor. For such a person not to be able to plan ahead, I think it's very disruptive to the economy. Now that said, is what's the way forward? And I think if you look at the last 30 years, this is sort of like the third wave of bank failures. Yeah. We had first in the 1980s, we had in the 1990s, and we are sort of entering the third wave. And Kenyans are now beginning to ask, is my money safe? And for me, I think it goes back to the regulator, because no Kenyan should ever have to ask, is my bank safe? Any bank with an operating license should be able to handle any customer
and have their money in safe custody.
Exactly.
I don't know if the case is the same for ABDULHAMID about, are Kenyans' money safe in the banks?
Oh, yes. And I fully agree with Ken. You cannot generalize. In this particular instance, if I may, in the opening remarks, you talked about good governance.
Oh, yes.
That's the bottom line. That's not negotiable. It's not negotiable for any business operating under the Banking Act, under the prudential guidelines, period. Now, if at all you have a problem of governance, you attend to the problem of governance in particular. So therefore, what Ken has said is indeed absolutely the correct position.
I don't know what, Jafar, is your view about this whole developments in the banking industry. Of course, you are a banker as well.
Yeah, interestingly is that actually Kenya was placing itself to be actually a regional hub.
Oh, yes.
For banking sector, insurance, and all the financial institutions. When you have this kind of events happening, it's not sending a good signal outside. Notwithstanding, my point would be, as First Community Bank, for example, other than having the normal standards operating under the CBK regulation and prudential guidelines, you also have another layer of governance, and that is primarily based on Sharia compliance and being strict on such issues. Okay. Maybe I should mention to you that the interest of stakeholders in any financial institution, and more precisely the Islamic financial institution, is more cemented and it's stronger because you have the interest of the directors, the shareholders, staff, and the community at large. So disposing the interest of all the stakeholders does not only bring a bad image, but is actually something which is frightening. Right. So if the regulator is going to streamline this, it's going to add more value to the market.
Maybe before we take another round of questions, let's also hear what Duncan, who is at our city center studios and in the CBD. Well, Duncan, a lot has happened in the last few weeks. We've seen serious developments in the banking sector. I don't know what you make of the recent developments.
Thank you so much for the show. What we've been seeing in the banking sector the last 1 week, slightly over than 1 week, is a kind of panic. As you've had, the credit individual depositors are actually panicking and asking themselves which are the safer banks to go to. But one thing we need to outline and really affirm that these are really isolated cases. It doesn't really speak of the overall health of the Kenyan banking system. We've actually come a long way in building a very strong financial system. If you look at the capitalization requirements have actually been improved to safeguard, yes, both the banks and even the depositors themselves. So I think the ball stops with the regulator and the banks themselves in trying to calm the fears in the market and trying to see that sanity comes back, that we might not be able to see a lot of panic withdrawals, whether now or in the near future. But also, we want to put emphasis on corporate governance, which is becoming now a common trend among the banks which have actually been placed under receivership so far. So there's something which needs to be done at the boardroom level, that the corporate boards need to be more transparent. We need to see a lot of clarity in terms of who are the individuals in the corporate space at the board level, what's been the experience, what's been their record previously. And actually the regulator has a hand in has a place to play in trying to streamline corporate governance in Kenya.
Okay, many thanks, Duncan. Everyone seems to be heaping blame on the regulator, saying CBK. But CBK is also saying managers need to style up. We saw the incident around National Bank where the board took action and the CEO was suspended, as well as 5 other top managers. And this sort of helped the bank because it didn't end up being placed under receivership. And looking at this incident, Ken, is it a question of corporate governance or the regulator? Or is it a two-pronged approach, really?
I think there's actually a third force that's playing here. In economics, you have something called the principal-agent problem, where sometimes you might have the leadership of the bank being under immense pressure to deliver profitability.
Yeah,
and
the race to the top.
Correct. And what the Americans call chasing alpha. And what really happens is sometimes, as we saw even in the United States, is when people have great targets and maybe the macroeconomic conditions don't allow, you might find opportunity for people to try and push the envelope or just push the boundary of regulation a bit further. So as long as this rat race to the top, as you say, exists, as long as banks purely exist for a profit motive, which has been a theme over the last 30 years, then we are more likely to see corporate governance being just lip service over the next few years, really.
I can see ABDULHAMID in deep thought about that. I don't know if he has a contrary view.
I'm very passionate about corporate governance. Everybody is trying to shift blame. Wasn't me. The buck stops with the utmost layer of the management of any institution. If it's my bank, in which I am a director, at the end of the day, we all know the buck stops with me. Now, there is a layer, all layers of controls, but those layers of controls can play a role to a certain extent. There could be individuals under the system of the layers of controls who could have been guilty to an extent or two. Does that now make you say, it's the central bank that has failed? Sorry. I believe the central bank is doing a fantastic job. I believe the central bank governor is doing a fantastic job. Obviously, he's also having sleepless nights like the depositor. Because at the end of the day, I am, as a director, a trustee of the public funds. And I'm only one bank, which is a small bank. The central bank governor has got this whole picture, and I believe he's doing a sterling job, and I commend and congratulate him.
Well, ABDULHAMID, if he's doing a good job, we've seen also a section of MPs saying that how is it that all over the years, I mean, Chase Bank is 10 years in the business and no one ever flagged it. So it seems like there's also internal cartels at central bank, if really you were to go back and look at the historical information.
I'm not an investigator and I won't want to comment, but conjecture. It's either here, neither here nor there. There are people who are working out there. Obviously, there is no fire without smoke.
Okay.
Where there's smoke, there's going to be fire. More than that, I certainly would want to say that we all need the positive energy. We need optimism. The country is far more than a couple of banks that are under stress, as we have seen. They are under management. There definitely is a process that is going to see what's going to come out of it. It's not a zero. It's not a zero.
Oh, yeah.
So therefore, what we need as a country is to get together and to resolve this. Look, it's your and my bread at the end of the day on the table that your children and my children are going to eat. So my Abby.
Okay, well said. But at the end of the day as well, we need accountability. Because it's one thing to say people to be optimistic. There's someone who now is really feeling the pinch. They can't meet their bills. They can't do X, Y, Z. But Jafar, from where you sit, corporate governance is sort of not that well entrenched in Kenya. Because look at different cases. We've seen CMC, we did see Uchumi, Mumias Sugar, and it's also catching up with the banking sector. Who is to blame?
Well, I'm not saying, look, central bank is a regulator and is not a direct player. You have a regulator on this other end and you have market players who are deeply involved into day and day running of these institutions. Now here brings us to a very fundamental issue that irrespective of pressure to deliver, you must be ethical. You must understand that you're operating within a certain framework. I'll tell you that issues of accountability, transparency, and personal behavior, ethics, should be paramount. As much as you want to generate more income.
So who is to enforce this ethics?
Well, this is not something that it's going to be done by a directive. I think it starts all the way, the channel, from our education system, from how you employ, what you employ, the records that you have, and what have you done. Interestingly, the central bank governor was actually mentioning that people who have ruined other institutions should not get a place in another institution because you're transferring problem from one end to the other.
Well said.
So the ethical aspect, the personality, integrity of individuals is very paramount.
Okay.
No amount of regulation, laws can be able to get hold of that.
Well, Duncan, not to forget you, we still have you with us. This issue of ethics and profits, we did see the case behind Chase Bank where insider lending was sort of recklessly done, where directors were getting close to 10 billion shillings in terms of insider loans. And the CBK governor did say that a total of 16.8 billion shillings are sort of toxic loans. I don't know what you think about ethics and the implementation and the issue around profits as well.
Well, when we look at the issue of insider loans, remember there are regulations on how much you can lend as a proportion of your capital. So it's really imperative that all banks, or rather all companies within the financial space particularly, keep within the thresholds and make sure that that is held and they are put accountable to it. And that's why now the other intermediaries in the market will come in and question if your numbers are way above the statutory requirements. Just the same way we look at ratios, be it a total capital, where there's a minimum level which you should have, and the regulator is always on the alert to make sure that all banks comply. So going forward, we would expect more of these guidelines to be followed through. And if at all there are any exceptions, again, they need to be put out to the public quite clearly. And in terms of even the level of reporting, it needs to continue. We need to continue seeing much more enhanced, much more transparent form of reporting. Remember, when you talk about insider loans, when you talk about any numbers within their financial statements, you won't forget to talk about how the audit level of it. So we want just to see a more fair and transparent banking system. Remember, everything in banking system is hinged on trust. So trust is really a very important component of it.
Many thanks, Duncan. Perhaps, Jafar, one of the other reasons that Chase Bank ended up in the situation they were in is that we understand they also have an Islamic kind of banking model that the auditors are yet to conclude investigations. Perhaps just help us understand how the Islamic model works. And of course, there was that issue, Ken, regarding the recoverability of these loans that were lent out to the directors. Perhaps you can have Jafar first.
Okay, let me start first by mentioning one very important thing here with Sharia banking. First, being laid on the foundations of Islamic commercial law, it is guided by a general principle of wealth preservation and protection. Now, under the general objective of wealth preservation and protection is that you have to protect the wealth and the capital to ensure that it accumulates and avoid its erosion. So it's you to create the balance between the two sides. Now, as far as Islamic financial institution or Islamic bank or banks that operate within such frameworks, is that securities and all standard procedures must be followed, either by the regulator or by internal structures that are put in place.
Okay.
And this is actually informs the spirit of compliance to Sharia rules and procedures. There is no way that I'm going to take depositors' money, use it for my own personal business or enterprise, then I cover it under whatever context or pretext there be. It has never happened anywhere else. A country like Malaysia, for example, it has a very vibrant Islamic financial industry, and London is coming up. If there were these systemic problems in this structure, definitely it wouldn't have gone this much with industry asset base of $2.1 trillion. So I think it is things just need to be put in the right perspective.
Maybe
yes,
we can have
yes, Abby, I'm dying to go. It's a matter of thresholds.
Yeah.
It's a matter of ratios. You have what you know as a conventional banking, but which is now an option because there was another option that was introduced, which is the Islamic banking model, which is an option. So you have two options. Both of them are operating under the regulator. They are operating under the regulations. They are operating under the Capital Markets Authority. They are operating under the Banking Act. They are operating under the members, the insurance, the members of the Banking Association. There is no difference in the operations net.
Yeah.
None of them can get away from the prudential guidelines. Therefore, whether it is 20% liquidity, whether it is the insider loans and the extent of the insider loans to one party, whether it is insider loans to the whole group of shareholders and others, it is the same. Therefore, to say that Islamic banking is responsible for the problems of Chase Bank because, you know, there was boils down to governance. So if at all there are issues of governance, be there Islamic in base, be there otherwise, is equal to the same.
Okay.
No difference.
Ken, maybe you can have the last word as we wrap up.
I think in my understanding of this situation, as the two directors have pointed out, this is coming down to an issue of an accounting treatment. I think the argument was at the very beginning, there was a big different accounting treatment under the Islamic facility model, and all of a sudden they have said that the auditor all of a sudden did a complete 180 and changed the accounting treatment, which triggered numbers all over. It's important to notice, to observe, as you said earlier, no arrest has been made. Only summons have been issued. So in terms of recovery of assets, recovery sort of presupposes some level of guilt. So if you look at the Economic Crimes Act, there has to be an arrest, there has to be a prosecution, there has to be a burden of proof that indeed there was a fraud that took place. But I think right now it's premature to talk about recovery when the case is still not fully understood. Is this an issue of accounting treatment, or is this purely fraud hiding behind difficult words? So I think it's too early to talk about that. Yeah.
Many thanks, gentlemen. Unfortunately, Duncan won't be able to get your comments, but we thank you for your contribution into this interesting discussion. Of course, we've run out of time, really. We can't proceed on with the interview for now. But many thanks, gentlemen. We are speaking to ABDULHAMID ABOO, who is a director of First Community Bank. We also have with us JAFAR Muhammad Aman, he's the manager, Sharia compliant at First Community Bank, and Chief Economist Ken Gishinga Karuga, helping us put into perspective what's been happening in the banking sector. Well, we want to take a quick commercial break. When we come back, we'll be talking about what's happening in the mobile phone market, issues to do with counterfeit, and what are some of the interventions that can be taken to avert a situation where we have a thriving black market. Well, don't go too far. That conversation coming up shortly here on KTN Business Today.